Hello and welcome to my look ahead video, and look at my new haircut. Thank goodness, and many thanks to Gary of Brunei's in Shoreham High Street, who fitted me in as one of his first customers when the bar was opened on Saturday morning. Thank you also to those people who didn't go on a complete bender when the pubs opened at the weekend. The police locally reported that they didn't have any major incidents. In fact, the major incident seems to have been on Sunday afternoon, where a group of some 300 people from a church in London decided it would be a great idea to come down to Lancing Beach for a mass baptism. So much for social distancing. Fortunately, the police asked them to go and do it somewhere else, which they did. Now, busy week in Parliament. Monday we have the Domestic Violence Bill, a really good piece of legislation coming to its final stages in the House of Commons. A really timely bill as well. We know about the increase in the instance of domestic abuse during the lockdown. The government has put in some amendments which will recognise children as victims in domestic abuse, which is something I've been calling for. And there's been lots of good cross-party consensus on how we can make this bill really work. It's a good piece of legislation. Now, also on Monday, the government announced something called the Global Human Rights Sanction Regime. This is based on the Magnitsky laws, so-called, from the States, whereby those governments and people who are accused of human rights abuses can face sanctions. That may be freezing and seizing assets and travel bans. Really important that the UK stands out as a beacon to stand up for human rights abuses and clamping down on them wherever they may occur across the globe. And on that vein, I am this week reintroducing my Tibet reciprocal access bill, which I brought forward last year. And that's to make sure that UK and other officials investigating human rights abuses can get access to Tibet within China, where we know the atrocities that have been going on there. And if they don't, then Chinese government officials will be denied access to the UK. And given what's been going on in Xinjiang province, where some 2 million Uyghurs are effectively in concentration camps at the moment, it's really, really important that we stand up for the abuses going on in China in particular, and in Hong Kong, of course. We've seen them in recent weeks in particular. On Wednesday, we have in the Home Affairs Select Committee, the head of the Met, Cressida Dick, is coming in front of us. She'll be taking questions about the handling of the recent demonstrations in response to the George Floyd killing in the US and other policing matters. That's going to be an interesting session. Also on Wednesday, we have got a mini budget, an economic statement by Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor. And from what I gather, it's going to be based on making sure we can retain and maintain those jobs that have been helped by furloughing in particular during the lockdown, to make sure that those jobs don't disappear, with a particular emphasis on making sure that the young people in particular can get help to stay in those jobs, and there'll be cash bonuses available for firms helping out there. Also, I'm looking for some real help for the hospitality industry, and perhaps a cut in VAT. Again, something many of us have been asking for, particularly in coastal constituencies hit so badly by lockdown. Later, we've had announcement of the support for the arts, £1.5 billion announced to help theatres and other arts venues, museum and cultural venues that again have really been hit. And of course, it's still going to be some time before we can open up our theatres again. And locally in Worthing, Ropetackle and Shoreham are really feeling the impact of that. So that money will be very welcome, but it's going to be a long haul for that part of the economy. Also, I've been getting still a lot of emails about Impulse Leisure. There's going to be a meeting of AIDA Council on the 7th of July to decide whether or not there's going to be any further additional financial support for Impulse Leisure, or whether somebody else is going to have to be sought to run those leisure facilities at Lancing and Southwick and Shoreham. And finally, I'm going to be starting my Street Surgeries again. This Saturday, I shall be near the Farmers Market, which is going to be held in the Tarmount Lane car park. I'll be there between 10 and 12 with a small contingent of councillors, suitably socially distanced. So if you want to come and have a chat, that's Saturday morning at Shoreham Farmers Market. And in the meantime, just because things have been eased, we still need to be alert, as the Prime Minister tells us, but do stay safe, everybody.